Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm doing one of my favorite podcasts. I just love doing Q&As. Where they're just kind of questions and then they're kind of short answers. Well, I always say short answers, but I get to talking about this stuff because I'm passionate about it and they're a little longer than they probably should be. But I just love to do Q&As because you guys send in the questions that tell me what you need help with or what you want to learn more about or what kind of content you want me to create or help you with. And so I love them. So I'm going to start this podcast off with a homework assignment to you. If you are listening to this, can you email me at lindsay@mycreativedays.com or reach out to me on Instagram @mycreativedays. Tell me that you listen to the podcast and you're sending me a question. I would love for each one of you to send me a question I can answer here on the podcast. I will never share your name. I will never, it tells me what you need help with and what kinds of things I should be talking about. So if you could all just do that one little homework assignment for me, I would really, really, really appreciate it. So today I'm just going to, I think this is going to be a shorter podcast. I say that until I get into this. I'm just going to answer 5 of the questions that have been sent in, and then I'll do more of these as they come in. So the first one, we're just going to get right into it. How can I start DIY home decor projects on a budget? This is my jam because this is my story. This is how Matt and I started. In our first house that we bought, we had such a tiny budget and we had to get creative. So when people ask, how can I start these projects? My number one thing is to be real honest about your skill level. Real honest, right? So I would not tell you to go tile a whole new, like your bathroom walls or your tub if you've never done a DIY project, right? Like that. Even tiling now, if we were to have somebody, if we needed to do that project, we would hire it out because it's not a fun project for us. But paint is my number one favorite DIY tool product because it's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And everybody can paint. Now, my one friend says, no, I can't. She's just never done it. So if you really do it and it's just because you don't want to do it. There are things that you learn along the way, and painter's tape will be your friend, your best friend in the beginning. But, starting off with those kinds of things, painting walls, painting furniture, just sticking to really easier projects that don't take a lot of skill or a lot of knowledge to do, even if there's 1,000 YouTube videos you've watched. Just some of those things just take a little bit more experience. And so knowing your skill level and being honest about it, and just starting small but continue to do it. Continue to do it because the more you do things, the better you're going to get at it all. So that is my biggest piece of advice, because if you don't, you're going to spend and waste a lot of money, and you don't have to. So especially if you're trying to do this on a budget, you just have to stick with what you can do. And then, those bigger projects, as you do more and more things, your skills will grow. And if you could find somebody that you could learn under, my dad was a huge, a wealth of knowledge for us. And if you've listened to my podcast or watched any of my content anywhere else, you know that when I met Matt, he didn't even know how to swing a hammer right. And I say that sounds really funny, but my dad, he's been in construction all of his life. And so when Matt did not grow up in a family like that. Matt's family was sports oriented. He could tell you anything and everything about a sport, but when he first started swinging a hammer and my dad was helping us do all the projects, my dad was like, he doesn't even know how to swing a hammer right. He was joking, kind of laughing, but he was serious. And so he taught us so much. He taught Matt so much. It's so funny. My dad's health is not good right now, and he can't do any of that anymore. And so Matt will be doing a project or we'll be doing something. He's like, oh, I'm going to do it this way because your dad said, taught me this little tip or trick or whatever. And If you have somebody that you know that you can just like work alongside, when my dad first started helping us, he literally was like, yep, I'll come over and do that project, but I want you guys there every step of the way, so that we could do like the cleanup process, or if we had to like clean the wall before doing something, or, pick up after my dad would do the work, or, and then as Matt started learning more, being right beside my dad doing those smaller tasks, my dad would say, okay, now go measure this, or what's the measurement of that? And then, it just kind of snowballed from there. So if you have somebody like that in your family, or a friend that you can just say, hey, can I just come alongside you and learn? I'm telling you, it's going to save you so much money in all your projects in your home. So definitely latch onto that person. Tell them you'll buy them lunch or something if you can just watch them work. Okay, so what are some easy DIY furniture makeover ideas for beginners? So this is such a good one. Again, we're going to start out with being very basic. So when you're looking for pieces of furniture, I always recommend you look for real wood pieces of furniture. I have a whole blog post on how you do that. So that's definitely number one, because when you're working with pieces that are made out of like particle board, or, like it's like plastic veneer, you're not going to get a good outcome, and you're just going to get frustrated and just give up and never try it again. And so I never want you to do that, because flipping furniture, you can furnish your home on the cheap just by flipping furniture. And so this question's some easy DIY furniture makeover ideas. For beginners, you're just looking for pieces that need a good cleaning. Like literally, and they are out there, believe me. Estate sales are going to be the best place for you to find those. Then go to like yard sales, then your thrift stores, look at Restore. Like if you have a Habitat for Humanity Restore shop, look there. Ask family and friends if they've got an old dresser or something they're not using anymore, and if they want to just get rid of it, and you'll take it off their hands. So you definitely want to look for pieces that are just really needing a good cleaning. Nothing that has, wobbly legs, or the drawers are broken, or, it's missing a ton of veneer. If you are a beginner, those are kinds of things you want to steer away from. Now, if you are also a beginner and the piece is it's great, it's sturdy, maybe it just needs new hardware, a good cleaning, and some new knobs. Like that is where you want to begin. But then beyond that, the next level where you will go is you want it sturdy, in good condition, doesn't need a lot of repairs, maybe needs hardware, and it would be amazing if it was painted black or something. And then start painting some pieces of furniture that you find. So those two things, that's where you want to start. First, it's just a good cleaning and maybe some new knobs. Second is when you want to start painting pieces. Now that involves, scuff sanding, cleaning. I've got all of that information on my website as well. It's a little more involved obviously than just cleaning a piece and putting new knobs on it, but it'll give you a whole new look. Again, I'm back to paint is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So that's like the next step for beginners for making over furniture. The next question is, where can I find affordable materials for DIY home decor projects? Restore. A Habitat for Humanity Restore, that, like I talked about, they have a ton of materials. Now, I am going to say that, some restores are more expensive than others. And and I know it. We've been to a lot of them. So sometimes they are pricey, and sometimes you'll be like, wait a minute, I can go to Home Depot and get this same board for whatever. So definitely knowing what the prices are at your regular Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever stores, that's good to know. Just so that when you are shopping for these things at other places, when it's a good buy. So like Matt and I can pretty much be like, we've done so many flip houses. We've helped my dad. We've done our own flip houses. We've helped my dad flip houses. All the projects we've done here in our home, we pretty much know when we come across a good deal on materials, and we are always on the lookout for materials. So another great place it's estate sales. It's a great place to find tools, screws, nails, boards that are left over from projects, or, that is a great place to find materials for DIY projects. Thrift stores, yard sales, like we have been to so many yard sales where, like the wife's having the yard sale and she's just like, I'm getting rid of all of his stuff. Like she just starts cleaning out her husband's stuff, that he's not using anymore. And we have found some amazing things. So definitely start shopping those places because buying new or, in the stores, it can get really expensive. So if you're trying to stay on a budget, but you still want to grow like your tool shed and your toolbox and the tools you have, and or you want to find wood for a project, hardware, that's a huge one. I am always, no matter where I am, thrift stores, yard sales, estate sales, restore. I like to at least get 4 of the same kind when I'm there. But if I find knobs, hinges, like the casters that go on old dressers and things, like if I find them in good condition, I grab them. And pieces like hardware and knobs that I know I could use on a bunch of different pieces, they're kind of universal. I grab them. So I'm always on the lookout for that. So like right now we have a nice stash in our garage so that which happens weekly, I come up with an idea like, hey, let's add this to the house. Or wait, I just found this piece of furniture. I need a brass knob or something. We always go to our stash first in our garage and save so much money that way. It's one of the tips that I share often. If you are yard selling, estate selling, whatever, definitely be on the lookout for those things. Even if you don't have a project right now to use them on. If they're, 25 cents a piece for a knob or whatever, 10 cents, grab them because you'll love to have that stash when you do have that project come up. How do I choose the right paint colors for furniture flipping? So again, if you go to mycreativedays.com, I have all kinds of like the best neutral colors for furniture flipping, the best, green colors. Like I have a post about all of that. So definitely check that out on my website. This kind of has a twofold kind of an answer. So number one, are you flipping for your home or are you flipping to sell? If you are flipping to sell, the more neutral, the better. But that's not to say, and I'm not going to go off on my tangent for my Furniture Flipping Academy here, but that's not to say that you can't become known for bright colored furniture that is hand painted and has like murals on it or whatever it is. But when you're first starting out, stick with neutral if you're selling. Same with your home. Now, I say this because things like your walls, your furniture pieces, your large piece, like a sofa, those aren't as easy to change the color of. Meaning, they are, but it's a job to have to paint the whole room, or it's a job if you wanted to repaint a dresser. Like it's not just slapping on a coat of paint. There is a step-by-step process you definitely want to follow to get the best result. And so I usually say the neutral with those kinds of things, you just switch out the hardware. There's also those colors, and neutral does not, and when I say this, neutral doesn't have to be beige, gray, and white. You can find neutral greens, neutral blues, neutral pinks. Like there are neutrals in all colors. Black is a neutral. So you definitely, it just depends on the color scheme you're going for. Do you want to pop a color with that furniture piece? Like, do you want that dresser standing out in the room? Is that the focal point? Like there are things to think about. And again, here's what I always say when people say, ask these kinds of questions about paint. It's paint. It can be changed. You can paint over it if you don't love it. Again, it is a process, right? It's not just easy. Slap on some paint and it'll be done. But it is just paint, so it's not permanent. You can change the color. Definitely there are some, like those things that I talked about. Do you want it to be the focal point? What's the color scheme? Like, what's the vibe you want in the room? Are you selling or flipping for your home? Like, all those things are things that you should definitely consider. What are some common mistakes to avoid when upcycling furniture? Number one, getting in over your head. So again, as your skills grow, you will definitely be able to do more and more projects and pick up a piece that's really broken, but you can fix it, right? So you definitely want to pick up the right pieces when you want to upcycle furniture. You want to make sure that what you're trying to upcycle or do with that piece, this piece is a good fit for it. Again, you want to find real wood pieces for furniture, or for upcycling furniture. It's just, you're going to be able to, like if you needed to cut it, you need to sand it, you need to paint it, any of those things, real wood furniture is going to be the best option for upcycling furniture. And just, a common mistake is just buying a piece that, it's just really not stable. That it's, what do I want to say? Chair legs and chair spindles. Like those are hard to fix. I steer clear of them. I don't pick them up when they're like that, but you can use just the backs of the chairs and hang them on your wall. Yes, I've done that. I rescued these wood like theater chairs from a barn, and they had been out in the weather and they had gotten wet and we couldn't use them as chairs, but I loved the backs. And so we just cut the bottoms off and we hung them on a wall in our entry. So, upcycling furniture doesn't have to mean it has to be a piece of furniture when you're done. Like I said, I hung furniture on our wall. It's art on our walls. So there's definitely so many ways to upcycle furniture. One of the things that we did, we actually went to a yard sale. This was years ago. And inside the garage was this 1890 organ. One of my favorite things about yard selling thrift stores, we have so many fun stories and memories behind everything. It's so fun. But anyway, so we're looking at it and it was free. And I'm like, there were so many beautiful pieces to the organ, but it was like you could never use it as an organ. It was kind of falling apart. And I said to Matt, I know we can upcycle so many pieces of this organ into so many other things. And so we took what we could apart and we brought that whole organ home. And we did. We made so many different pieces from that beautiful wood. And it's just, there were so much details and curves and just unbelievable pieces of wood that we were able to salvage from that organ and just make into tons of different other things. So yeah, just I guess the biggest common mistake is picking up furniture pieces that can't be upcycled or they're too far gone, and just knowing and not picking up real wood. That's because it's just going to make the process so much easier. So those are the main common mistakes with that. And again, I have so many projects for upcycling furniture ideas on my website. So head over there. I'm telling you, a lot of the organ projects are on there as well, along with the chairs that are hung on our wall. That's on there as well. So I'm just going to answer those 5 here on this podcast. I do have some more that I will be answering in another upcoming episode, but please, if you guys will all do that homework assignment and send me an email or reach out to me on Instagram at My Creative Days with some questions I can answer, I would really, really, really appreciate it. It just helps me to know what kinds of things I can help you with. So until next time, I hope you have a great day and I will talk to you very soon. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so, so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.